Hey guys, Boris here. Day 2 of Regionals has completed, and congratulations to all the players who secured their ticket to the Worlds, and best of luck to them in the final lobby tomorrow. Right here we're looking here at a EU region, and we can see that Double has done it once again, has secured his another world appearance, which is I believe the final lobby of the regional he has made every single time, pretty much since set 3 or 4 if I recall correctly. L3 is Coco, another familiar household name in the EU region, as well as EMEA and Raiko Master. A little bit few of the upsets, Dalesum, very known to be there, Jedusaur as well, Sappho and Cubicson, all have been known for making these final lobbies and having the world's appearances. However, today we're going to be looking at the game from Deisik, particularly a Game 10 right here, in which he managed to secure a first and as such advance as one of the first 4 players. Therefore, without further ado, let's jump in game with him. Now, we are playing in the Gwen's Gifts Encounters, which is just going to mean the tempo in this lobby is going to be very high, since already the top players prefer to play high tempo by default or fully commit to the lost streaks, and play the lost streaks quite well, playing into generally in this meta in anything that can spike on stage 3 through the unlocks or through the 3x3 rolls. Therefore, they definitely do not want to be finding yourself in a mixed streak spot, as you're going to start losing those rounds whenever those guys come on, and they're going to be having the weak on advantage over you, while the high tempo players are going to be giving you probably a beating as well. Therefore, you have to be very adverse and have to scout your matchups in order to know if you're able to do so. We made a Blitzcrank too, but however, here we're already making an interesting play. We know that there's most likely going to be it's quite probable there's going to be 2 gold drop here, and we have this build, and Isona in this corner is able to solo the first 1-4 PvE round, and we exactly did the 2 gold, and we do get Isona. And coming out with our argument, we hit Delayed Start, which is going to be quite great in this spot. We have only a single unit, okay, but we have made 10 already, so our econ is rolling. This is going to provide us a little bit of an econ, can provide us with potential direction as well. Therefore, risky moves spot is just not an option we can consider. And team building would be something if we more lean into a reroll comp. Efficient Shopper is another great econ augment to be taken from the lose streak spot. However, Delayed Start is just going to have a lot more value. We also do not have a clear direction. It can provide that for us. And team then Flowing Tears here would be good into some kind of an AP comp that we can consider something like particularly like any comp that wants to lose a lot of tears, but is also good in something like an Aria LeBlanc reroll. But this just gives us the units. We do get the Blitz Duel back, but otherwise we are very unsynergistic. Therefore, we're going to have to try to see if we can maybe pick up some direction from the carousel or from the first few shops going into the after our shop unlocks. And since the bronze traits in this set are so strong, the pure value of just a 2-star 2-star 1 cost is not as high. See that there are also a few players who are loose streaking. Therefore, we are not really in the spot where we can commit to a full loss streak. Opted to slam the Sunfire since it's a great early game item as well. Perhaps should have scouted if it is necessary to do so for us. However, has netted this a single kill, and maybe we'll net us a single kill right here. The Jarvan does live. Yeah, this just talks into this high tempo, trying to preserve as much as HP, and especially in Gwen's and Gifts Encounters, right? We can just later on remake these items. The Sunfire is not the strongest of the items in the later game. You would prefer to have any kind of Morello or a red buff, depending if you're playing AP or AD. Now we queue into Zyko here with the double Jinx pair already and the team building, definitely committing to this comp and positioning in a way to be fully open. This is the thing, we just cannot outsack these players if we really wanted to. Therefore, not in the greatest of the spots this way. We have the econ, but we have to be wary if they spike. Here, coming up in the carousel, we're going to be taking Rod. Since we had that open tier, we're most likely considering a potential to be playing into some form of an AP line. Do get from the Gwen, and we get another Rod. Therefore, we're most likely committing to some form of an AP line right away. Blast Shields would be if we wanted to stay more fully flexible, in our choice of the line. Continuum Cox would be most likely, we're definitely committing most likely with an AP with a double rod already. However, this would lean more into the Lissandra Seraphine. Blast Shields gives us an option to splash and Piltover if he still stays quite open, perhaps into something like a Kaisa. It's just going to be a little bit better overall there. Interesting to position, to try to cover both sides and preventive wrap as well. Able to, I believe, pick up a win here. Shouldn't be a problem to kill this Viego too. Able to do so. Again, we see Raiko here with that low streak augment. However, playing into Shadow Lies from behind does not seem the greatest of the plans. Shadow Wells being on board that you definitely want to get to your 5 cost and then drop down all the way to only 2 Shadow Well units. Is there a Swain? Yeah, there's a Swain already on 2-6. Hopefully we do not queue into this player. Instead, we queue into the LeBlanc player who is quite weak, which is great for us, so we're able to end up on a 3 streak here. I definitely want to be entering stage 3 with as much lives as possible, as again these reroll players are going to start entering back in our pool after probably something like 3-2, and we're going to be losing quite some HP to them. Therefore, any win we could have picked up here is quite good, 90 HP. Hopefully able to pick up a few more wins on the next stage, and then hopefully obviously still establish directions. We're quite open. Able to get a Yasuo, and I believe the Ione was Battle Spirit, so we're going to hold on Yasuo pair already as well, but to get a third rod, which is we're not too excited about. Just going to slam the Spark here, and the Shojin obviously Goen's Gift. Let's use our items as best as we can, and definitely in the spot where we're trying to pick up some wins. Now we queue into this, seems to be a Slayers player, and they are getting on our weak side. The Kog'Maw gets the Sejuani in face as well, so looks like we're going to be losing this round. And especially we also have a dupe, so we could be able to get the Yone out as well quite early on. Now Indecision would be playing against this against the tempo decisions here, and has generally lost quite a bit of value after losing a little bit of the gold. However, probably going to be holding on to if we do not like the rest of our options. Unseal from Steel would have to kind of lock into the line we are playing right away. Could be taking Darkened Staff, which is still going to lead to quite a few lines if we are into that. And Plot Armor is generic combat. We're not exactly in a spot to be streaking right now. Therefore, it's not going to be having as high as a value at the moment on 3-2 as opposed to something like a Econ or an item augment for our team. Indiscriminate Killer could be something if we wanted to slot a third item. However, that would... it's just, in my opinion, weaker than the potential from Unsealed from Steel. Construct a Companion, something like a 3-star Sona, Jarvan 3-star Sona if you're playing into something like a Demacia line. Other lines, I have not really seen it have that much value. So it looks like, yeah, we're going to be going with the Unsealed from Steel. We're pretty much committed to the AP with all these 3 rods. Therefore, we're quite fine to take a Darkened Staff. Also able to push aggressively to level 7 here. Now, what's going to be the plan here? We're slotting in... So we're unlocking Veigar here, right? We should singles dead cap with the Yordles in. We should be able to unlock Veigar and perhaps play around Veigar in this later game. We also have 2 Voidens, so we're going to be making progress onto this Rift Herald. Or it's going to be primed. Already, yeah, it's going to be primed. And the Kaisa as well. Alright, no more, my bad. You have to have those dead caps on the Yordle unit, right? In order to unlock the Veigar. So we're having the Kaisa unlock here. Now, Shojin Kaisa is not exactly what we are looking for. So instead we are keeping the items here on the Kog'Maw. And the Rift Herald is going to provide us a little bit of value here. Able to pick up a win against Elia. Making 30 here. So yeah, have to remember this myself. Have not really played the Veigar lines, but you have to have those death cap on the Yordle of the units. I opted not to do so right there. Not exactly sure what the Veigar line would have actually been able to lead us down to either. It has to be some kind of Yordle flex, which you would want to be playing from a tempo, but we didn't really have the upgraded Yordle units, right? So instead going to slam Adaptive Helm here, so most likely we're looking at a possible snip later on. Now the 3-cost players are rolling down, trying to spike their boards. Thankfully we fought Elliot around before they spiked, so we're able to pick up a win there. Now if we wanted to play around this, guys, we would have wanted to have some form of a Rage Blade, obviously, right? That just the 2 AP guys are having the general build. But instead, it looks like we have mapped out the Demacia core with the Galio unlock change is a lot easier to be pivoting into this line. However, we have long ways to go. So obviously we just high rolled this Garen, but I mean we have a single Jarvan, we have a jingle Sona. That's not exactly what would signal me to be playing Demacia even from 1-4 spot. However, we scouted that it seems to be this open line, and we are level 740 here. Okay, we find a Lux. Alright, definitely can see how we now could be considering it, but still we have a long ways to go. We still have to go back and find these 2 costs, find these 1 costs, and as obviously, yeah, Garen, Lux 2 are going to be able to bring you quite a ways, but unless you're able to fast enough them and then pivot out of these units, you're going to be having a little bit of rough of the time. Well, I guess the trick is put them into the team planner and the game will give them to you. Going to slotting in, I also unlocked the Skarner on the turn before as a potential to sort out our front line out in case we didn't hit this shop. Now, still they are not upgraded, so they're going to be losing quite a little bit of value, but Garen, if you're able to get a 2-star Garen online in stage 4, is an absolute monster. Going to be dropping it around here from the Draven player, probably Travis looking to play some form of a fast 9 AD board. Farming up on our augment, reinforcement could sort our troubles out, and if we're able to find a 2-star Garen, perhaps we're able to even consider going fast 9. Or a Lux 2. Would have to evaluate our matchups and see who we're fighting. Arcane Victory works in the stall comp. It's not that bad actually in Demacia since it inherently stalls. Crown's Will, however, we're going to reroll that right away since we already have an abundance of rods. Tons of stats, generically decent, but Demacia is going to provide us with so much resistances. Earths, if we have I believe we have a Sunfire, so we should be having an open chain somewhere that we could transition. However, this generally benefits if you have at least a couple of spatulas. Therefore, could be considering Arcane Victory as an option. No, instead reroll, find the Ascension. Now that works even better for us. Able to find an early Shyvana for ourselves, Swain pair, upgrading that Zinzao. We're still 1-star level off. Therefore, we perhaps take out the Shyvana, single roll, find that Poppy. Only found a single Lux, so yeah, this is the thing that with this Demacia line, it's very consistent and very strong on stage 4. However, you are going to have a little bit rough time finding your way to the Garen. This Lux unit is very strong, but going to be dropping around to the Slayers player as we still are not on our 7 Demacia spec. Now the Galio comes in. Going to be rolling aggressively here before all these AP players have taken out our Garens. Find a better dead cap holder than a single star level Sona. And we already have dropped down to 5 Demacia through utilizing the Skarner, the Shyvana that we have high rolled. Definitely seems a nice play to do so, already seeing, yeah, obviously if we had a Zillia, that wants to go in immediately as that propels us to level 9. And with the Ascension, we should be quite good to hold as the Shyvana is going to provide us a little bit of that DR, and perhaps, I assume we're scouting our matchups if we still have this Tarek on a bench that we found. We get a Zillion from the carousel, yeah. So we might be even swapping in between the Skarner and the Tarek between the matchups. Get our last Gwen's gift. It becomes a... we're going to snip and... Yeah, obviously we want to make the void stuff right there. I do not think we can give up on this glove from the steadfast. We want the crown's items. Going to sort our anti-heal through the Morello here and leave the open rod for a potential last item. Also notably, we transition the darkened staff to the Zillion, keeping the... opting to have the shred on the Lux instead and have the death cap on her. Still very aggressively digging for this Garen, as we believe that to be our core. Definitely do not want to be going level 9 without it. However, with this quite few other reroll players, they're not going to be chasing these Garens right away. I'm not exactly sure if I saw any Melflex players that would be the primary contesters or Arcanist players for our Garens, able to pick up a Zillion pair as well in the shop. That's going to be, unless we're able to hide. Okay, there is a player already holding 2 Garens for themselves. That's the Ishtal player looking to spike later on. And I assume we're affording ourselves the option to be able to roll so deep here on level 8 since, okay, we find out Grand 2, but since we have this Zillion, we're able to do so. I'm going to opt to reforge and get a Gunblade here, so still seems to be preferring the Gunblade as a possibility. Now the WoW could either go onto Shyvana or onto Swain. Swain's still generally having a little bit more of a value. We also have a pair of that, so it's most likely Spike we're going to achieve first. Otherwise, Shyvana or even Skarner would have been fine as an option. Now, thankfully, we queue into Travis here, who is sacking, but our board should be very strong for this whole stage, realistically. Now another Garen comes. We have managed to... So our transition was obviously we high rolled the transition at the start, but afterwards we had to dig quite deep all the way on the 0 gold every single turn, as we simply valued the possibility of finding that Garen 2. And again, the Demacia is a comp that generally is going to be taking the wins during these stage 4 and early stage 5. Before all these very high cost, high capped 5 cost comps come online. And as we can see, that was exactly yielded us a 5 streak right now, and we have to watch out for this. Oh, sorry about that. We have to watch out for this top player here to potentially achieve. They have the potential to be reaching the higher of the caps. Pick up a narrow win here, which leads us on the 6th streak, which is very valuable for our spot right now. For our, in terms of items, realistically could be looking at another WoW here. That got taken from us. Otherwise, I'm not exactly sure. I mean, JG is the last option there, probably provides the most value right away. Could have considered also a Galio item as a possibility, but can just transition a Morello to Galio. Yeah, going to do exactly that. Applies it quite neatly with his jump in. Now, the AD Fast 9 player is also a possibility. They could outcap us. I hope the Skarner does not exactly... Our backline should be... okay, so neatly noted that if they had the Skarner in the corner here and we had something like a Garen here, that the Skarner would have walked up. The Skarner's hitbox angle is not that great, and there could have been potential that they pull in our Zillion, for example, if they do not have the units, the 3 units in the range there. And also this way we have prevented the potential of a wrap. I'm going to opt to remake our items here. Going for a Bramble Vest, since we see that there's a Slayer player, also a strong... seems to be there quite a lot, of the strongest of the caps being around the AD. Our Lux got ganked by the Ambessa, but unfortunately the Belvet has managed to crash onto the weaker side. That's the positioning with these Slayer matchups. Also moved 3 items on the Galio, as we find that Galio 2 round before. The Declaw is just immense damage, as you can see already for the Galio. He just loves magic resistance more than any other stat. And now we should be able to go to level 9, since the Zillion has farmed for quite a while. Able to find a single Garen, that's going to be a signal for us. Alright, we're going for the Silas. Silas pair already. Able to remake this Garen 2 and slot in the Silas. And transition the items right away. Darken item, going to give the Silas a little bit of magic resistance, and he can apply the Shred quite well. And the Nidalee has gotten our Lux, but okay, she managed to get there just in time. Now the Sona has carried the Nidalee out of the game, and now we are able to pick up a win against Coco. A huge win for us here, securing the top 4. Okay, secure the top 4 round before, but we get the Silas too. On a very few rolls, so we have... I mean, obviously to win a TFT game at this caliber of a competition, you have to be a little bit lucky in some ways. But here we go against Travis, who has their own 2-star 5 costs. Now, the Beta Silas 2 is just a general beast of a unit. Now, our Lux has gotten ganked and we are dropping around here. They just simply seem to be having a high capability. But we are playing from only a silver econ augment with an item augment and a combat augment of ourselves. Therefore, we should be quite strong. and have a high cap. Now we have to also watch out for this player to not backdoor a 3-star 4 cost on ourselves. Going to be positioning the Silas close to the Garen in order to secure its safety. And we are able to stall enough this time, as also the Silas retreated in the back from one of the jumps, and that made sure he does not get ganked before the Garen. The declaw gets taken, which is, yeah, seemed to be the most likely of the items we wanted to be picking up for this Galio. Could have then just transitioned something like the Morello onto the Zillion. Or actually, yeah, it seems like this Hodge. Obviously would have wanted this Hodge to be on the Silas itself as to synergize and then just transition the Void Staff off. But this is going to have to suffice. Have to be aggressive with your removers. As you might notice if you watch the game, sometimes the players already have used like 2-3 removers, come to the stage 3 or even the stage 4. As the tempo is what they value so much, and be able to pick up a win here. Oh, this is my bad, I was just yapping here about the removers. This was the last round against Travis for the fast A9 AP board. AD board. We managed to nicely position the Garen on the side of their carries, which is able to stall long enough for us. And we are able to pick up a win through that way, as simply the Silas 2 provides too much value also on being on their side here. So it seems like we managed to dodge the Spade, managed to dodge the Fiddle, and obviously this Jarvan's going to die here, and the Silas is able to tank him sufficiently enough. Immediately jumped in with a stun there, so that was a huge potential, and then got ganked. And now we have the back of the Ascensions having more combat power than their Mess Hall Augment. Very well played from Deisik here, securing a win, obviously through some high rolls, as otherwise it's very hard to achieve the Silas 2 cap in general. However, reading his spot, finding the open line, which is the key in his game, right? Playing from a start without home, he was able to find a way, okay, we can play for this board, we are in a decent spot, and if we get the Zillion, we're able to go to 9 and hopefully cap around the Silas, not going for anything fancy like the Annie board, since we simply do not have the gold to do so. But he managed to get there, and through the combat scaling, through identifying the correct augments, is able to win out. I would like to thank you for watching, and I hope that you learned something new, and we shall see you in the next one. Have a good one.